everybody, welcome along to the latest edition of our racing tipping service here at Sportsbet TV. My name's Paul Alster. I'm really glad that you're joining me here as we look forward to the racing coming up this weekend, where I have selections for you at Fairyhouse, Warwick and Market Rasen. Now, as ever, fingers are very firmly crossed that the weather is not going to intervene and take a hand, but hopefully these meetings will go ahead. And before we go ahead any further, I just want to remind you that if you haven't already done so, press the subscribe button just below this video on the YouTube channel, and also press the bell icon so you'll be kept in touch with all our bulletins. Now, I want to just say a couple of words before I move on to the selections. First of all, words of thanks for so many people who've been following the service and hopefully making money from the very good run of form we've been having overall over the last few months. And it's been great to see your comments underneath the videos, and believe me, they do get read and are appreciated. And I just want to pass on thanks for your support and encouragement to the following, who are amongst those who have been following us regularly. The likes of James Willison, Danny Whelan, John Francis, Paul Neary, Michelle Donnelly, Sharp Money, Neil Palmer, Magic Mike, Derek Rand, Les Appleton, James Morton, Jonathan Taylor. Then we have Howard Martin, Off Spinners in a Hurry. There's a great name for a birth certificate. Daniel Jowett, Chris Bono, Batman Mods. Sounds like my kind of dude. Joey Ocean, Amer Jamil, Big Toe Dan 50 and many others. Thanks to all of you for your kind messages of support, and it's great to know that you're following us. Well, if you followed us last week, you'll know that it wasn't one of the most successful weeks we've had lately. Indeed, it was blank, zilch, zero, nil point. We didn't manage to hit the target, which is something that is going to happen when you're tipping big prices. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, this is not a service where you'll find me tipping favourites, paper favourites, the one that all the tipsters are going for in the national press. I'm looking for horses thinking out of the box, bigger odds, and that has proven very, very lucrative over the last few months, and indeed ever since we started the service in July, and we're showing a very good level stakes profit. Now, very quickly, last week, Joe Farrell, he ran in the Welsh National, made a hash of the 9th fence, but he walked straight through it and it didn't seem to bother him. But what did bother him was when the horse fell right in front of him on the final circuit, stopped him in his tracks, and that was game over, I'm afraid. Kustar Sivela, he was an interesting runner. He finished 5th over at Kempton at decent odds. I've got to say that the horse didn't look happy going right-handed. Most of his wins have come left-handed, including at Cheltenham. And I think he'll be better going left-handed, and he's coming down the weights, and I haven't given up on Kustar Sivela. Now, there's a horse called the Widowmaker who was big odds at Wincanton in a novices hurdle, led until after the third last, ran a little bit too free. But if they can get this horse to settle, he's got his handicap mark now. I think he's very interesting. The yard also, that of Colin Tizard, is under a cloud at the moment, which doesn't help. The final selection was Paul Nicholls' Solo, who was well backed, but I'm afraid just didn't show the old spark. And I think the handicap has got his measure, plain and simple, and I won't be recommending him again in a hurry. Now let's move on to this weekend selections, and also I want to at the end of this bulletin give you my very first recommendation for the Cheltenham Festival. I'm going to each week give you one for your portfolio of bets, and I'll be recommending one anti-pose for the Cheltenham Festival for you to consider. Now, in chronological order, I have 4 horses for you this weekend. I was going to leave one out because I normally only tip 3, but I thought it'll be sod's law, won't it, that the one I leave out is going to go and win. So let's start off over in Ireland at Fairyhouse on Saturday at 12:30, the 2¼ mile Mares Maiden Hurdle. There won't be many tipsters looking at this race. It's heavy ground, there are 14 runners, and the likely favourite, and a worthy favourite on form, is Joseph O'Brien's Global Equity. The form pick, it was 4th in a Punchestown listed event last time out. It had also been third in a Grade 3 last season, so this is a horse with very good form, but still a maiden. Rosie's Hollow for Jonathan Sweeney won a Cork bumper and has run twice over hurdles so far and shown plenty of ability. We've got a horse with a German-sounding name, Schön Aussicht, for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. It's a winner in France on the flat, over 1.5 miles, and was very promising when 5th of 19 on its debut over hurdles recently at Naas. They are the three that the market are going to concentrate on, and rightly so. But there's an interesting runner here who is a winning point-to-pointer. It's had 3 wins in points, and it won a maiden point-to-point last time out. The name of the horse is Miss Clolga, and it's trained by Sam Curling and is the mount of Philip Enright. Now, Sam Curling is a young trainer out in Ireland. He used to ride over the sticks, and I think this is a guy to follow. I think he is a star trainer of the future. I've been watching him very closely, and I've made a nice few bob backing a few of his horses, including one in running recently that won at 100 to 1. And very interestingly, he has a very good strike rate with long odds horses, particularly running after a break or first time out for the yard. And indeed, since the late summer, when he's not had a whole lot of runners, he's had winners at 100 to 1, 40 to 1 and 33 to 1. So your level stakes backing Sam Curling, you're miles ahead. Now, he can get them ready first time, as I've mentioned, and this mare won the maiden point-to-point. She's by Oscar, so she's bred for jumping and she's bred to go in testing conditions. She's also a full sister to a horse called City Theatre, who some of you may remember used to be trained by John Joe O'Neill and won 3 times over hurdles for him. So she's pretty well bred. Now, it might turn out that she's just not good enough at this level, first time out, first time under rules, but I think it's worth taking a chance. And we don't have anything priced up at the moment. It's not a race the firms are rushing to price up. I reckon that with a lot of deadwood in the race, some horses that have some terrible form, I think she's going to stand out as possibly 4th or 5th favourite, and about 16 to 1 each way. So I think she's worth a chance, because there are question marks about the favourite, and I suspect this mare could be capable of winning a race or two. And with the trainer really producing some big price ones first time out, I think it's worth an interest. That is Miss Clogger in the 12:30 each way at Fairyhouse on Saturday. Now, in the 12:55 race at Market Rasen, our second selection goes a 2.25 mile novices hurdle, soft ground, 10 runners. There are 3 form horses once again in this race. The dual novice hurdle winner, who is doubly penalised, is a horse called Across the Line. Now, he's rated 124, he's trained by Dan Skelton, sure to run well, but he has the double penalty. We've got art approval for Fergal O'Brien, who was second in a Cheltenham maiden hurdle and has run well in a better novices handicap hurdle at Cheltenham since. He's rated 118. Then a horse yet to be allocated a rating is trained by Ollie Murphy, called Grandad's Cottage. It was a close 5th in a Doncaster race last time out, and had been second in a Stratford bumper as well earlier on. So these 3 horses stand out as more than capable of winning the race if things go their way. But there's a horse I've been waiting to see run, and he was actually due to run today, Friday. I'm recording this bulletin for you at Friday lunchtime, and he was due to have run today, I think it was at Huntingdon, first time out in a handicap, in a novices handicap hurdle, but the meeting's been abandoned because of the snow. Now, Shut the Gate is the name of the horse. He's trained by veteran trainer John Spearing and is the mount of Jamie Moore. Now, for those of you not too familiar with John Spearing, he has been a great trainer. And I'm not exaggerating, he really has been a great trainer. Those of you that go back as far as I do, maybe a bit further even, will remember him training some cracking horses in the 80s and 90s, none better than Run and Skip, who was a real high-class 3-miler, and of course jumped the last Upsides, Dawn Run, Wayward Lad and Forgive and Forget in that greatest of all Gold Cups, in my opinion, in 1986. So he won big races with Run and Skip. You may remember him winning the Racing Post Chase with a horse called Simon back in 2007. And he's also won good races on the flat as well. He's been a very, very versatile trainer, very shrewd. He must be about 80 now. And I've had a look. I think he's only got 3 horses in training. He had a riding accident a few years ago and has basically all but given up. But he keeps a few horses on the go. Now, this horse, Shut the Gate, is interesting. He had 3 quiet runs last season, just mid-division, nothing special. Then he ran on the 30th of December at Market Rasen in a 2-mile novices hurdle. It was the novices hurdle that was won by Across the Line. Now, I watched this race a few times, and I managed also to get to see the head-on, which was important. I'm going to read you the comment that the Racing Post race readers have given to this horse, and they've described his performance as follows: midfield, going okay but plenty to do, nudged along 2 out, kept on, not reach leaders. Now, regular followers will know that, as well as being a commentator in my time and a number of other things, I was also a race reader for a number of years, and that comment basically says to me, I wouldn't say not off, but that the horse was ridden with another day in mind. Let's put it that way. It was its first run for 6 months, in 9 months even, so it was probably in need of the run. But when you watch the head-on of this horse in the home straight, 25 lengths behind as they come to the second last, just ridden along, nudged out as they say, and as they hit the line, he is going on, I would have put on the comment, going on at the finish. He'll stay further, so good to see him going to 2¼ miles. And I think if he's ridden a little bit more enterprisingly, there's a chance he could run a big race. Now, on official figures, he has a lot to find, but they missed the chance to run him in the novices handicap hurdle. They could blow his mark if they get too close to these without winning. So I think this horse is either probably going to win or finish down the field again. I think he's worth an interest. Hard to know what price he's going to be, but he has been noticed by the Racing Post. I'm not the only one that saw the way this horse ran. So once again, I think 16-1 might be the odds on offer. It's hard to know. We don't have any prices up at the moment. The name is Shut the Gate. He's at Market Rasen Saturday in the 12.55 each way. Now, a couple of races that are priced up, and they're both at the feature meeting of the day at Warwick. The first at 2.25. This is a superb renewal of the Grade 2 Ballymore Novices Hurdle over 2 miles 5 furlongs. There are 12 runners, it's soft ground, and 9 of them are winners last time out in pretty decent company. The likes of Adrimel, whose only defeat in his life came in the Cheltenham Festival bumper, otherwise he's unbeaten. Make Me a Believer, Oscar Elite, JBY, Midnight River, they're all horses who are very highly regarded by some big yards. But there's a horse here called Mint Condition, who is trained by Jenny Candlish and is the mount of Keelan Woods. And this horse, you may remember, beat our tip a few weeks ago at Wetherby. I think it was it on Boxing Day? The horse was called Look My Way. He was second to Mint Condition. And Mint Condition beat him fair and square and beat him quite comfortably. Indeed, he beat him quite easily. And having watched that race over a few times, I've noted that Mint Condition was full of running going to the last, and he absolutely pinged the last and came away. Now, he's been raised £8 for that win, and I think that's fair on what he's done there. Now, that means that he's now rated 135, and officially he's only £5 behind the best of the others that have an official mark. Now, Jenny Candlish wouldn't be one of the sort of headline trainers, and I think that if this was trained by anybody else, it would be a shorter price. Also, I think they're a bit prejudiced against the horse because it's been running in handicaps where all the others have been running in decent novices hurdles. But he's been beating decent handicappers and beating them well, and is clearly on the upgrade. Now, my only question mark here is the stable form. They've been just a little bit quiet in the last few weeks, having had a purple patch in December. But I still fancy this one to go very well, because I think Look My Way, the horse that it beat, is definitely a horse to follow. I was going to tell you it was a 9-to-1 shot, but from the time I made my notes to now when I'm recording it, the 9-to-1 has gone, and he's generally 8-to-1 each way with all firms. So I'm expecting a big run from Mint Condition, who will handle the ground, is a tough horse who is progressive and stays well, and he's 8-to-1 each way at Warwick in the 225 Mint Condition. And then I'll move on to my final selection for today, which is also at Warwick in their final race, the 335, which is the Potemps Handicap Hurdle. This one, of course, is over 3 miles and 1 furlong. There are 13 runners, and they're betting 9-2 the field. Commentator is the favourite for Tom George. He's been in really good form, and he won at Cheltenham last time out. Gone up in the weights just £7 for a 5.5 length win, and I think that's quite fair. But him aside, I think this is a wide open race, and I'm prepared to take a chance here on a horse trained by Dan Skelton and the mount of Harry Skelton, Dan's brother, and that is Ardlethan, a horse better known in recent seasons as a chaser. Indeed, he was 6th to cloth cap in the Ladbroke Trophy, the Hennessy Gold Cup in late November, which is very good form, and then he got no further than the second fence at Ascot in the Silver Trophy, where he fell. Now, they've decided to switch him back to hurdles, a horse who stays, a horse who goes well on soft ground, and a horse who is unexposed over hurdles. He's only had 4 runs, he won 2 of them, and on the other one, he ran in a Grade 1 against Champ at Aintree and was banged there at the second last before fading, and that is red hot form. I think that is a horse who may well benefit for the switch back to hurdles. I'm not convinced he's really been made for the fences, and with 4 places on offer all firms, despite the 13 runners, they're going 4 places. I think 12-to-1 each way, which is a general offer for Ardlethan. I'm sure he'll have done plenty of schooling back over hurdles, and I think he could run a very, very big race. He'll stay, he handles the ground, he's with a top team, and I think he'll enjoy being back over smaller obstacles. So that is Ardlethan, 12-to-1 each way in the 335 race at Warwick on Saturday. Right, let's take you on to Cheltenham, middle of March, the greatest show on turf. I don't think there's going to be any punters there this year on track, but it's still going to be, for me, the best 4 days racing of the year, even allowing for Royal Ascot, which I also adore. And over the years, Cheltenham's been the race meeting that I build up to, and I've had some good success. I've also had some hard luck stories and a few absolute duds as well. But I'm very quickly going to tell you a very short story, because the Triumph Hurdle is a race that has a really soft spot in my heart. My very first job was as a trainee commentator with Extel. I got the job back in 1985 at their Leeds office, and it was a dream job. It was a job I applied for as a joke because I was meant to go to university after high school to train study law. But I went and did this interview, and they gave me the job. And I never actually went to law school, never got to uni, because I ended up as a racing commentator and presenter. And the boss at the company there was a very quietly spoken Irishman, Larry Waity, who very rarely spoke to the plebs like me, who were just trainees. But our job every day was to take him in a cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a rota, and I'd never really spoken to him, and I was only in my 2nd week in the job, and I went in and I took him the tea and just left it on his table and said, hello boss, whatever. And for the first time he spoke to me, and this was in July of 1985, and he asked me how I was interested in racing, how I was enjoying the job, all the rest of it. And then he said to me, do you like a bet? I said, sure, I'm not averse to one. And he said, well, I've just been on holiday in Ireland, and I visited an old friend of mine, Dermot Weld, who was, he's a top trainer, really good trainer. And he mentioned a horse that they think might run well, but it's in March at the Cheltenham Festival. It's a horse that's been running on the flat, and his name is Son of Ivor. and they think he's going to make a hurdler. So you might want to have just a little bit each way on him, anti-post. And he says, I think it'll go well, and they're targeting it at the race. So I said, thanks, boss, I'll have a look. About an hour later, in the office, there was a bit of a commotion. The boss had his office just around the corner away from the main office, and a few people had rushed through. Long story short, Larry Waity had a heart attack, and he died at his desk. And I was in shock, and we were all in shock. And I thought to myself, I've got to back this horse. This horse he told me about, I'm going to have a pound or two each way on it. And that I started doing every week, starting off at odds of 100 to 1. It won its first race over hurdles in about the November. And then it won its second race over hurdles at the Christmas meeting. I think it was at Leopardstown. And by the time it came to the Triumph Hurdle, it was second or third favourite at about 8 to 1. And the 1986 Triumph Hurdle is famous for one reason. It was the first time David Nicholson trained a winner in the race. And what happened was that David Nicholson had a horse called Solar Cloud which went clear. We were all watching, there were 30 runners, we were all on, everybody in the office on Son of Ivor. Solar Cloud went clear, and then from out of the pack came Son of Ivor. We were all on each way, and he, from being 10 or 15 lengths behind, he got to within about half a length or a neck of Solar Cloud in the last 100 yards, and he just couldn't get by. And in the end he was pipped for second by a horse of Rod Simpson's called Brunico, which flew. And so he ended up finishing third to Solar Cloud, David Nicholson's first ever winner, the Duke, one of the greatest jumps trainers ever. So he broke his hoodoo. Son of Ivor finished third. We were all very big quids in with Son of Ivor, and it was a great way to remember my boss, who I barely knew, who gave me that one tip. And since then I've had a few winners of the Triumph Hurdle, and it's a race I always look to try and find the right horse for. And there's a horse this year that interests me, and the horse is called, and I'm going to spell it out, Hador, H-A-D'-O-R. He's trained by Willie Mullins, Adore, and it's only had 2 runs. The first of them was in its native France, where it ran in a 3-runner mile-and-a-half race, and it won it. And the second horse has since come out and won at Auteuil in France. Now, Susanna Ritchie and Rich Ritchie bought this horse probably for quite a lot of money, sent it to Willie Mullins, the great Willie Mullins, and this horse made its debut in the Grade 2 Knight Frank Juvenile Hurdle, and that was at Leopardstown's Christmas meeting, and this is an absolutely red-hot race. So they obviously rate this horse, and he ran an absolute superb race for his first time out in 6 months, thrown in at the deep end in high-class race. And he ended up finishing third behind Zanahiyr of Gordon Elliott's, who is now hot favourite for the Triumph Hurdle at around 11 or 4, 5 to 2. But that was Zanahiyr's third run. Okay, he won it by about 5 lengths overall, but he was experienced. There's a lot of time till Cheltenham. Some horses are going to improve, and I think Adore ran a great race, because you could see he was running on and off the bridle, but he still came back onto the bridle, going to the final flight, jumped it well, and then came home strong in third under Rachel Blackmore. And I really do feel that Hador has been laid out for the Triumph Hurdle. It's a race that Willie Mullins has, the race at Leopardstown, he's put a number of good horses in that race over the years and won it with the likes of Apples Jade and Bapome. I think he thinks that Hador is going to be good enough to go for the Triumph Hurdle. Now, of course, betting anti-post 10 to 12 weeks ahead of the race, a lot can go wrong. The horse could go wrong. It may not get to the race. But I think the 25 to 1 still on offer each way with Bet365 and Unibet is worth taking. And if you can find any firms, and there are a few of them about, who are offering non-runner no bet in order to try and get you interested in the Cheltenham Festival, then take it. So for me, my first recommendation in our Cheltenham anti-post file is going to be Adore, 25 to 1 each way in the Triumph Hurdle. And that's my final recommendation. I hope you don't mind me going all the way down memory lane. But this is what horse racing does to you. It brings about great memories and great moments that you savour even when you don't win. Sometimes getting a place at huge odds is as exciting as backing a winner at medium odds in a decent race. So that's it for this weekend. Thanks very much for joining me. Press the subscribe button, tell your friends about this service and share the link. And I look forward to you joining me again next week. Bye bye for now.